All right, Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. Kind of bear with me. So this is a video that I wanted to do a lesson on a while back, but I never, got the time to get around to it. But I was like, was crazy. The lesson I did yesterday, I was supposed to actually get into a video that I was found, the video that I couldn't find, and I found it yesterday, and I was just so zealous in the spirit that I forgot to even play the video. But I'm going to say that video for tomorrow, that lesson, and I'm going to get into this video. This is a lesson, a commentary that I've been wanting to do for a long time, So this so-called white man, he's Edomite, you're going to actually go into the mind of Esau Edom, and you're going to see this Jake right here is going to challenge this Edomite, and you're going to see them kind of go back and forth, and I'm going to do a commentary, and this so-called, so-called white people, this is how they think. This is the inner workings of Esau Edom. The hypocrisy is off the charts. This devil stole this land, but yet he'll call people aliens, you know what I'm saying, that come over here. But you stole this from the so-called Native Americans, which was the Reubenites and Gadites, the Israelites. You stole this land, and then you get to set the rules up. Then you get to call people the T word. You used to call them aliens, insult them because you're a devil. Let's get into this video.
At a Pearland school who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. She is not willing to support the black Americans that have fought and died for this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly. But you know what I think? I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them.
And she comes from a family.
See, this is the mind of Esau Edom, so it got to be done, as he see fit. So that's why when we tell these devils that we don't celebrate the 4th of July, they look at us like we got 4 heads, because it's offensive to these devils to not, they want you to comply. They want you to culturally assimilate to their way. And if you don't, they're going to get offended. They're going to call you the T word. And they're going to say you talking hate. And you see how crafty this devil is. But I'm going to let this Jake cook.
Of military service members. Her father's is a retired military service member also, who served this nation well with great dignity. She also has additional family members who was in the armed forces.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman who has had long conversations as well as her father about her not standing for the flag. What white people need to understand...
Just white people?
Yes, please, let me explain. What white people need to understand is that national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. So let's get that receipt. Let's get that receipt. The Francis, and they actually clipped out the third part of that, national anthem, right? That goes into, there you go, Salakia. So this was an Edomite that, he says, best known as the author of the poem Defense of Fort McHenry. Boy, you some devils, boy. Let me see, national anthem. It says, yes, Francis Scott Key is the author of the Star Spangled Banner, which became the United States national anthem. Key wrote the poem in 1814 after witnessing the American flag still flying over Fort Henry, following a heavy bombardment during the War of 1812. The poem was later set a popular tune and officially adopted as the national anthem. So what I'm going to go into is the lyrics. 4 lyrics. Salakia. Give me 1 second. Let me find this real quick. So let me get into this. The person that wrote this was a slave owner, Francis Scott Key, who wrote the anthem, Salakia. He said was a slave owner, was an attorney who used his position to defend slavery. So this is the part they removed, Salakia. It says, the third verse, right? It says, no refuge could save the howling enslaved from the terror of flight, or the gloom of the grave. You hear this? It says, why the United States never sings this verse. It exposes the anthem's connection to slavery. It contradicts the land of the free myth making. Francis Scott Key documented pro-slavery, so he was for slavery. Stance makes this verse politically embarrassing. It says, so on and so forth. Do your research. So let's get more into this video.
Who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. And that unwritten third, that unheard of and unspoken third verse, go research the third verse where he says, there's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave, both to be turmoil to the grave.
How's your parents doing?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the
You
slave.
see how Esau Edom, he don't want to face that fact. Instead of dealing with it, he deflects. He goes to some other shit. And this is what these Edomites are masters of, switching the narrative. Instead of identifying and dealing with what the brother said, you know what I'm saying? He went to, he tried to switch the subject, right? Let's keep going.
Would you ask Jewish children if they are pledged to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why?
you would not.
You certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that. But what will happen to her, how her friends will respond,
Check this devil out.
how the school will view her, how Americans will view her, is very negative. This is not what
See,
you
these
want.
devils want you to culturally assimilate. They want you to assimilate to their way. If you don't assimilate to their way, you're a T-word. You're an extremist. You're on the threat. You see how this goes? This is in the mind of the Edomite. That's why when we tell these devils we don't celebrate 4th of July, they turn red. You know what I'm saying? They're highly offended when we say that, because, again, this devil wants you to assimilate to his way. And if you don't do it his way, it's invalid. Give me 1 second. Let me get into this video.
And let me say to that young girl and others like that young girl, America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her. America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others like her, support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country, like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country, and some who gave their lives.
And the same Jakes that fought for this country came back and got lynched, came back and got nothing. So what is this devil talking about? Again, he want to control the narrative. He want to water it down and not make it seem like it's that bad. That's what they do. Let's keep going.
Black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves after. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggas in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
So why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So it's not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
all need to go back where you came from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians
see, he deflected again. He didn't deal with what this brother told him. He was telling him that you stole your people. This devil, this Edomite, he's very aware. A lot of these Edomites are played dumb, but they very aware of certain history. They very aware of it, but they want to do the cognitive dissonance. They don't want to deal with it because it's an embarrassment. It's a blot on their glory. But yes, they stole all this land, whether you believe it or not. It's in all the history books, and they actually killed little babies. They actually raped women by the thousands, if not millions. They actually put people to death in many different ways, and he also made them convert to be Christians. That's why most of our people are Christians today under this style of Christianity that they was put by the sword to convert to. Most of the so-called Native Americans, the Gadites and the Reubens, the children of Israel that was over here, they had a choice: either convert to this Christianity that you see today, or get put to death. So how all of a sudden Christianity today is about love? Make this shit make sense. All this shit is nothing but confusion. You Edomites cannot control the narrative. We woken up and we know exactly what's going on. So let's get more into this.
Side who should pack up and go, and I guarantee black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
What you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell. Get their opinion too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
Yo, guys, welcome back to GCU.
Well, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. I think it's a second part. I think this one. Because this Jake right here be on these Edomites, man. I think this one. Let's go here.
I warned you right from this seat that Michael Johnson would be produced in America if injustice and police killings were not held accountable.
Give me 1 second. I think it's this one I want to get into. Okay, let's play this one.
A lawful U.S. citizen? Are they here with a green card? Are they a permanent resident alien? Or are they here illegally without documentation? And if they are here illegally without that documentation, then the feds can get involved and then they can take it from there. I think this is a fantastic law. It is time to start enforcing the laws that are on the books instead of the state and local officials legislating from their own little tiny offices.
It's an awful law because it's nothing more than a legal way for law enforcement to racially profile Mexicans and Hispanics. This law was written into existence by Governor Abbott to specifically go after a said group of demographics here in the state of Texas. Secondly, it is awful that we want to call them illegal immigrants.
Check this
to
out.
the point to where if a cop does not do his job according to this law, he can be charged and arrested, and the cities can be given a $25,000 fine per day. Well, we'll put a cop in jail for not asking about his immigrant status, but we won't put cops in jail for shooting and killing unarmed black people.
That's not true, and that's
Thirdly,
way
I think
too
it's
far of a step.
awful to
Murder
call
is
them-
against the law, Cornell.
Yeah, but it's like when you kill
This
black
the part I
people,
was
you're a
talking
cop.
about
See,
right
the
here.
problem-
The part that's coming up right here. See, these devils are called, you know, the Northern Kingdom immigrants and aliens and, you know, rapists and all that. But actually, these are the real people that are the aliens, that are the rapists, that are the savage. When they came over here and killed most of the so-called Native Americans, they called them savages. But the so-called white man is actually the savage. That's the brute beast. That's the demon. Check this out.
in America in the state
What about
is.
the Dallas case
But
where that cop was just
because
charged
there
with
was video
murder?
to show he was
So
absolutely
you can't
lying.
make these broad
No,
statements. It's just
because
simply not
often
true.
there's video, ma'am, where we are killed by cops and nobody ever goes to jail. Ask Eric Garner's family that. Ask the family right there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Brother Alton Sterling's family.
But your
They're not
statement
getting
is not
justice. So
correct,
video will mean
Cornell.
nothing for us.
Your
But let's get
statement's
back
not
to the
correct.
immigrants. I would say to the Hispanic and Mexican community, what you got to do now, hook up with the black community and unite in political power, because if Mexicans and black people unite in Texas, we can control the governor, we can control the lieutenant governor, and we can control politics in Texas, period. I'm saying to the Latino brothers and sisters, don't fight them by yourself. If you hook up with black people and we unite, I'm telling you, we can run Texas and then pass laws to deal with those who hate us.
You're advocating for criminal activity, Cornell. These people are not here lawfully. They need to do what our ancestors
this
did,
out.
what many
Check this
Mexicans have
out.
done,
No,
what many,
wait a minute.
many, don't interrupt
Your
me.
ancestors came here illegally. Wasn't nothing legal about your ancestors.
Listen.
They came illegally and they murdered, they raped, they pillaged a whole race of people. This country, Texas, Arizona, California, belongs to
Okay,
Mexicans.
Cornell, get back
it was
to the
stole from
point.
them.
You
So
tell
when
me to
you
get
quote
back
your
to the point.
ancestors, they
See,
came.
they deflect when you bring up the facts. That cognitive dissonance that so-called white people, Edomites, don't want to deal with the uncomfortable truth. You saw what he said. You so-called white people are the immigrants. You are the aliens. You are the devil. It is what it is. And you got to acknowledge this history. You can't just brush over and say it wasn't you. It don't work that way. So hopefully this lesson has been edifying. Call Hala Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rachat Kodash. Shalom.